It's been a hell of a weekend, I'll say that. I just finished up the bathroom downstairs about an hour ago. No time to take a shower and grab something to eat.
Yeah, I was gonna. I meant to text you on the way up, and then when I turned on your street there, I'm like, oh, I forgot to text him. So
got 2 notifications. Wonder what those are. Oh, Sleep with the Real just went live, and you did. It's weird.
He said he hadn't seen the link yet, so there he is.
Oh, he is in.
Good deal. It's working out all right. All right, guys, we're going to let a few people get in here before we get started. Just trying to settle in.
Yeah, it seems to lag a little bit when you first get started with this. Yeah, it just went from 1 to 10. Going here. J Bass and Mr. Sean. What's up, man? Got Steve Ronan in here. He says he needs a fat sticker.
Got you covered, Steve.
One of those stickers? Those are nice.
I'm working on that. I'm trying to get out all the. I got to do some business stuff too first before I get all that stuff sent out. So just be patient with me. So, man, I'm glad you're feeling better, Steve.
Shadow Bass.
Sean in here. What's up, Sean?
Oh.
I talked to somebody yesterday or 2 days ago, Sean, that was going to go up to Newton and check Newton out. I haven't got back with them to find out how it went. But
now Newton's still open, right, for the power line?
I don't know. Sean would probably know. But apparently we need to make a road trip up there sometime. It's got some big ones in there. It's got some really good ones. Got Ron here.
What's up, Ron?
What's up, Ron?
Yeah, Ron and I didn't get back our trip this weekend. I got new roof put on and had a bunch of other stuff going on. I didn't get to go. Sucked.
Yeah, I saw Ron out on Egypt yesterday.
That was weird seeing him there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about wearing the same clothes all the time is people recognize me. It's about the only way I get any love out there. Got to wear the same shirt.
Yeah. Larry Lee, what's up, man?
Got Hank Snow in here. Gary's here.
Getting them rolling in here.
There you go. Sean said it took 25 pounds to win the tournament dude this weekend.
That was not the case on the tournament I was fishing. I think first place was like 7 pounds.
Oh, yeah, you fished.
Maybe 8. Yeah, it was terrible.
Was it
terrible.
So tell us a little bit about it.
So I took off the water about an hour early. We had, I'd had boat issues, whatever. My fuel gauge is still out. Well, one, I ran out of gas right in front of the marina, thank God. But the bite was so hard. It was just, you weren't getting bit at all. I caught, I think, 6 fish all day long, only 2 keepers. I pulled out of the water because just there was nothing going on. Everything was dead. And talked to a group that was fishing another tournament there, and they were all locals. And we got talking about fish tournament down there. Like, well, how many times you guys fish this like in a year? And I'm like, oh, this is the only time we fish it. They turned around and they're like, are you stupid? I'm like, hey, it's up to our tournament committee. I got nothing to do with it. And they're like, this is the worst time of year to ever fish this lake. Mm-hmm. We hate this lake at this time of year. There's no reason anybody else should be fishing it. And but they had 18 boats and only 6 boats weighed in fish. And I think first place was like 3 fish.
Wow.
Yeah, it was terrible. We had 10 or 11 boats, and I think maybe 4 people weighed in, something like that.
I think
it was bad.
I think a lot of those fish feed at night right now this time of year. That's
yeah. Well, that lake it's so clear. I had probably 15-foot visibility.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Jesus.
Yeah, you couldn't get near a brush pile without them just scattering. So
I see. HellaBass is on here. He said better have a good guest tonight. So I think we're gonna have a good guest. It's on him.
I hope so. I hope so.
So you want to get him on here?
Yeah, we'll get him on here.
Get him rolling, man.
And there he is.
What's going on, Rick?
Oh, not too much. How are you guys tonight?
Did we surprise you?
I was playing on my phone in the chat, and I was like, "I'll pay attention now."
No, we're doing good, man. We're just settling in, just trying to relax and be in the moment. Just got done.
Did you guys get that little bit of a cool trend that we got last week?
It's on its way.
It's I think tonight or tomorrow night.
Yeah, I know. I know Wednesday we're supposed to get low 70s for the high, so I'm super ready for it. It's It's been nasty. It hasn't been too terribly bad, but it's been
mid-80s. Just mid-80s and just hanging there.
Yeah, just kind of hanging there. So,
you guys been dealing with a lot of fog up there?
We've had a little bit of fall weather. It's going to be warm this week again now, a little bit, but our water temps went from like 80s down to the mid 60s in like 2 weeks.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah,
we were still in the mid 80s.
Yeah, we're still holding about 81 in the morning and 83, 84 in the afternoon. So it just it's been like that for probably 3 weeks or so.
We'll be right back.
Okay, sure. No problem. No problem at all.
I was actually going to ask you about fog because Saturday we had a fog delay.
Oh, did you?
Oh, it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't see like 20 foot in front of your boat. It was bad. I mean, when we got there at like 5 o'clock in the morning, it was somewhat foggy. By a 6 o'clock takeoff, there was no way. Like I said, you couldn't see 20 foot in front of your boat. It was terrible.
Well, you get in those lakes that have steep pitched banks.
Yeah.
And that fog just gets in there and sits. And if you don't have any kind of wind,
it was like that the whole way there. It was foggy the whole ride. Yeah, it was bad.
I've been in a couple tournaments that Table Rock's really bad about that, and Lake of the Ozarks, this time of year.
Yeah,
well, actually a little bit later.
I'd say the worst one I've ever had was at Kentucky Lake, and it wasn't like a patchy fog here and there. It was just one wall right in the middle of the lake. I mean, we drove all the way. We could see it coming a mile away, and ran into it and had to stop and just idle through it for about probably 500-600 yards, and it was clear again. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. So, man, good work on Bass Talk Live. I listened to that.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. Yeah, it was. I went on there once for that watch show on Champlain, but yeah, kind of doing that more like just round table thing was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed that. I definitely would like to do that again.
Yeah, sounds like you guys are going to do it again. That went really well. I enjoyed listening to that today. So
it'd be fun to do it with Ping around there too. I think that would add another level of dynamic to it. So
yeah,
he's pretty interesting to talk to, or I should say, listen to, not talking to.
Fun. Yeah, he had a pretty solid finish in that Rayburn tournament.
You got to check. So anytime you get a check in an open, you're doing something right.
Right.
So you just finished up your tournament with Vermilion, right?
It was a couple weeks ago. The day 3 video I thought I was going to get out today. Probably going to be tomorrow. It's mid-edit. They're probably early edit still. So I actually finished up like right before the last weekend in August. And then I fished a little team derby yesterday too. So, and then in a couple weeks I got another fairly good-sized tournament up on Leech for the TBF semis. So staying busy.
Yeah. So for the guys out there in YouTube land that don't know, this is Rich of HellaBass, and you're from Minnesota. What part of Minnesota are you from?
Yeah, I grew up on like the north side of this Minneapolis area, Twin Cities area, and now I live in the south side suburbs. But yeah, basically the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So that's south central Minnesota.
Okay. So do you have a home lake? Or what's something you consider a home lake?
Like, there's a couple lakes close to my house, but they're pretty small. A tournament lake? I don't know. I probably fished more tournaments on Pool 8 out of La Crosse than anywhere else. I like the Mississippi River a lot. That's probably one of my favorite places to fish. But otherwise, I don't know. I kind of travel around fishing a lot of the TBF and Bass Nation qualifiers and things like that, and a few other team circuits. I don't really like jackpot on a single lake over and over again. So that's kind of what I do. And then when I have time, I try to fish the BFLs. But it's been a while since I've had time to fish a full season on top of work, family, the other qualifiers, and then if you make a regional here and there, it's like just need more PTO.
Right. So you had a really good finish at was it the Bass Nation? Is that what that was recently?
Yeah, that was the Bass Nation Northern Regional. So last year we had our TOC for Bass Nation on Island Lake up near Duluth in Minnesota, and that was just like a total tough lake. I think I had 8 fish for 2 days and had like 18 pounds and finished second. Only one guy had 80 guys caught a limit both days on 12-inch minimum, which in Minnesota is like super rare. Typically if you're not culling all day in Minnesota, you're doing something wrong most of the time, it feels like. So that qualified me for a tournament this August. That was last August, to be the Northern Regional, which was up on Lake Vermilion, which is a beautiful lake. It's like I don't know, an hour north of Duluth, if you know, kind of Duluth Superior area.
Yeah.
Like just before you'd get to the Boundary Waters, that's where Vermilion is.
I was watching your video a little bit. Your backhand pitching is phenomenal. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's something I pride myself on. If you watch my videos, I do a fair amount of dock fishing. I do a lot of other types of stuff too, but like that's a strength, what I would consider a strength technique for me.
Yeah, definitely. That's not easy.
I was gonna say, when I was about 12, I used to like help my dad practice for his club tournaments, and I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna watch Bassmaster TNN. I was like, these guys throw bait casters around docks. I'm gonna do that. Like, and I just locked a bait caster in my hand and probably had a Texas rig back then, and I just put myself through the ringer. I picked out so many backlashes when I was 12. But, I put in that time and I got really good at picking out backlashes, and then I eventually really got good at casting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you got to do. You gotta just expect to get some backlashes. I started skipping with spinning rod, and then I kind of moved to the bait caster. And I don't skip a whole lot around here because we don't have a lot of docks to fish, unfortunately. It's mostly
we do. You just can't fish them.
We have a local lake that has plenty of docks, but they have no fishing within 10 feet of the dock, so you can just sit there and look at them. And I mean, people still fish them, but that's the lake rules. So most of the skipping, me personally, that I'm doing is just under laydowns and overhanging trees and stuff like that. Same concept, but
yeah.
I got Lake of the Ozarks in a couple of weeks, so I'll have plenty of docks to skip.
When are you going down?
Next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
Okay, so you're going late September then.
Yeah, got a BFL down here. This is BFL Super Tournament in the Ozark Division. So
what's up? What's up, White Whale? I see you. In Minnesota, they can post that stuff on docks, but they can't enforce it. Like in Minnesota, like I could stand on your dock. That's like, if you put your dock in the water, it's public domain. Like, you can't steal stuff, you can't ruin their property, but you have every right to fish it and be on it if you want to be honest.
Yeah, the lake we're talking about, it's a private lake, so that's the reason they can do that. But
yeah, some people are real outgoing about coming down and yelling at you. They'll let you know, and then some people don't really care. I think a lot of the guys that fish, that have crappie rigs and stuff, they're not so picky about it. They kind of understand. Right. But there's the housewife that sits up there on the back deck and just keeps an eye on the dock all day long. Yeah. You sneak up there and make a skip under there, she'll come out and yell at you.
Yeah. Total Karen.
Yeah, exactly. So you just got to know which docks you can fish and which docks you can't.
So are you saying you're fishing docks in Egypt? Is that what you're saying?
No, I got a YouTube channel. I got to watch what I fish. People will definitely let me know that I was within 10 feet of a dock.
Yeah, that's no kidding. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we're talking about Vermilion, and that a 9-state region. So it was 90 boats. So each state sends their qualifiers. 10 boaters, 10 non-boaters, and that's what the Bass Nation Northern Regional is. There's a team prize for the top team weights, and then individual payouts. Then plus the top angler from each state moves on to the national championship. So I finished 4th overall, but I finished 1st on the team and got to move on. So I finished the national championship Pickwick in mid-November. So that's 50-some guys. So there's one from almost every state, and then a couple international anglers, and 3 of us will make the classic. So.
That's exciting. That's very exciting. Have you been to Pickwick before?
No, I've been to Gunnersville, but not Pickwick. So
okay. We are heading down there this weekend. I'm going down there to fish the Toyota Owners Tournament.
On Pickwick?
Yeah, we're heading down there Wednesday evening. So I can let you know what the grass looks like at least, because that's kind of what we're planning on fishing.
Sure. You're not going to be bobbing around in the tail race. That's not your deal.
No. We checked that out last year. We went down there last year for the first time, and it was rolling. They had a lot of water coming through the system, and I think that's where it was won. Those guys figured out the smallmouth up there on the A rigs and stuff, but that's not something that I don't know. I wasn't comfortable getting up in that stuff, So we just did the easy thing.
for the Bass Nation, even the divisional round or the regional rounds, the same rules as like the Classic or the Elite. So there's no nets, there's no A rigs, there's so if you're going to be up in the tail race, A, you're not going to be able to throw an A rig, and B, you're not going to have a net to try to land those smallies in that current. So
yeah, that's going to be tough. So
But you may have noticed in my videos, there was a lot of me scrambling next to the boat trying to like bear paw those smallies in. Net.
Yeah. Are you going to be fishing solo in that, or will there be another person in the boat with you?
So they do have co-anglers now at the national championship. So I think for at least the first 2 days, there are co-anglers. If a co-angler finishes high enough weight-wise, then they can make the day 3, but then they would fish as a boater on day 3. So the first 2 days have a co-angler, and then anybody that makes the day 3 will be fishing alone, and there'll be a cut. I don't know if it's like 10 or 12 or 15 that fish the final day, so.
Okay. So is that still, I used to fish the, we got gnats everywhere around here too.
We have mosquitoes in Minnesota. They're dangerous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been on a Canadian trip one time, and the mosquitoes were just ridiculous up there. You could see them on the dock just waiting for you to pull up. It was bad.
So I'm just assuming you're a big tube guy, right?
Tube?
Yeah.
That said. When I'm smallie fishing, I don't throw them a ton for largemouth, but I do like them for smallies.
Yeah, that stupid tube. I seen you talking about that, and that's something I started fishing on Barkley Lake about 4 or 5 years ago, and I actually got away from it the last year or two, and I don't know why, other than there's so many distractions. There's so many new baits and stuff that come out that a lot of times you'll end up kind of going down a rabbit hole the other way away from a bait that got a lot of confidence. But that's a killer bait. Caught a lot of nice fish on that bait.
I would say the one kryptonite to the stupid tube is probably grass. It doesn't come through grass. Right?
No,
that eye catches that grass but so if you've got any kind of consistent grass, the stupid tube is probably not the deal.
Right. So do you use a certain brand of tube, or you just kind of sample different tubes?
I'm not dialed in. Get Bit Baits have some good tubes. That smaller coffee tube works pretty good. In the past, I've used some Yum tubes, but they kind of keep changing their tubes all the time, so I don't know if I like the newer ones. You just got to find something that's fairly thin-walled for the stupid tube. You don't want those like double dip, triple dip tubes that they use on the Great Lakes,
right?
Because when you're trying to text posing them, that's all just fighting the hook when you try to hook them. So to me, a thin wall tube, kind of a little bit longer profile, so you got room to put your hook in correctly, but you don't want a real big tube either. So you want that kind of sweet spot, 2 3/4 to 3 inch, maybe 3 1/2 inch tube, but you don't want to be in a flipping tube, but you don't want to be in a tiny. You got to just kind of find that right tube size that rigs right on the jig head you like, and then find a jig head that's got enough gap in it that it's not going to cause you hook set issues. So
yeah, that's a big problem with the tube, is that bait bunching up and you don't get that bite. That's Texas rig. Anyway, you rig a tube, it's like that.
I know a lot of guys like to slit the back of the stupid tube where the hook is, but I don't like that because my hook, then I'm literally one fish per tube, and then it's so I don't do that, but some people do.
If you had a bait sponsor, you could just have 20 packs of tubes and you wouldn't worry about it.
Well, the thing is, it's not even so much burning through the tubes, it's the rigging. I rig a day like these, I rig up 8, 10, 12 of them, and I hope I don't have to re-rig during the tournament again.
So what about tackle? What do you fish that stupid tube on?
I like to throw on a bait caster. I throw it on a 7-foot 4 Dobbins Extreme 3-power, so kind of like a medium. I mean, they call it a medium heavy, but I would say it's more of a medium fast action. Got a nice tip on it. It's one of my favorite bait caster smaller rods, and I throw that on 12. If I'm fishing offshore, it's probably mostly 12-foot or 12-pound. When I was fishing mostly shallow or on trees and docks like I was on Vermilion, then it's going to probably be more 14 and 15-pound line.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you what size line you were using up there. You were cranking them pretty hard, so.
Yeah, so like, and then mostly 3/16 and quarter ounce heads is pretty much what I throw the stupid tube on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm 3/16 is the one that I always lean towards. And you gotta jack those fish. At least the tube jigs that I use, they have a pretty stout hook in them. It's kind of it's an EWG style hook, but you got to put the meat to them. It's not like obviously it's not like an open hook where you can just kind of pull back on them and the hook goes in.
It's kind of like punching fish.
Yeah, you gotta jack them pretty good. You need a little bit stiffer rod.
Like one of the ones I really like is the V&M, which it's got like a huge EWG hook on it.
Yep, it sure does. It's got a really good gap in it.
So that one, I mean, for a stupid tube, I think they're made by V&M. I'm not sure the exact name. That is one that I like a lot, which also has a pretty heavy hook on it. Definitely would consider it light wire. And then the other head I use a lot is it's just a football shaky head. It's by Bass Tech, and it's a little football head, and it's just got
just a round bend hook.
Yeah, but it's a little bigger hook and longer, so it sits real far back in the tube, but it's still got enough throat. And then it makes that head a little wider, right? When you shove it in there, you got to put a little saliva or a little scent on there to get it up in there correctly when you spin it around so it twists right. But then that head's a little wider, so I feel like when you're fishing on a lot of rocks, it helps, kind of like a football jig. That head is just a little less likely for that tube to slip in there. I don't know. In my head, anyways, that makes sense.
Yeah, Ron says you're telling the truth about the Minnesota fish. They will spoil you up there. Yeah, we need to get up there sometime soon.
Yeah, you got to join your buddy on Mille Lacs.
Yeah, I know. We both got an invite up there. We got a buddy of ours, Ron. Yeah, lives down here and guides up there, and we got a standing invitation. We just got to make it happen. I've been seeing. I don't know. Mille Lacs has been just like every place else. Has been super busy this year. Have you been finding that there's just been a ton more people out on the water?
Yeah, it's been definitely slowed down now that the kids are back in school. But here's a couple that I had pre-rigged. One on the right is a big bite tube, and this one is a Mismo tube. But for those people that don't know, right, like the stupid tube, you're basically internal jig head, but it's Texpos, right? So that hook is just sitting there, and that's why you got a little bit of a hook set there, is because you need to punch that bait through. So it is weedless. It's got a unique glide. It's not quite a spiral of a exposed tube. It's not quite the flat glide of a Texas rig, but it's an in-between action. So I think it's the in-between action, and it's the putting a tube in a place a lot of people can't, right? That's what makes the stupid tube what it is, I think, in my opinion. So
and it skips great too. You can really skip that tube really well.
Yeah, skips a lot better than a Texas rig for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So you got any other?
It'll be good on Pickwick if I'm fishing for smallies, that's for sure.
I'm gonna be making it happen. I've been using you ever tried Chalmers tubes? They're a Chalmers makes a tube. It's a really good tube as well. I don't know if you're bored and you want to buy a bag of tubes to try something different. They make a color called Deb's Dynamite. It's kind of a green pumpkin with a gold in it. It's a really good, slightly stained water. Say, I don't know, 2 to 3 foot visibility, something like that. It just seems to catch the crap out of it.
Yeah, I usually throw a lot of that green pumpkin copper, green pumpkin gold. That's kind of one of my favorite.
Like that one.
Regardless.
Yeah. What do you got there? That's a 6-inch prawn, or?
Yep. Yeah. So Weigel actually, he sent us these prawn baits from 6 cents to try out. He said his grass was pretty well done for and whatever. Gabe and I are still in the punching right now, but that was these right here. You can see those. And that color, he was just explaining there. That's about what that color is. But
yeah.
Try these out, see what they do, and
it's a good looking little punching bait.
Yeah.
I have not played around with the prawns, but I got some BFEs arriving tomorrow, so we'll see.
You'll like those. I think you'll really like those. Yeah, they're. I've been playing around with them on a Tokyo rig a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I got some.
I've been at a big D-bomb kick this year. Like the D-bomb seems to be what I keep grabbing the most when I'm flipping this year.
Yeah, Greg's a big fan of the D-bomb.
Yeah,
me too. That's
I don't leave anywhere without that.
Yeah. Have you played around with the Tokyo rig much?
I would say at this point I've caught a few fish on it, but I've not had a day where I felt like it was getting me any more bites than my standard flipping rig with a tungsten weight and the ringed VMC EWG. So
yeah, I just been keeping it instead of having a Texas rig. I fish a baby brush hog a lot, especially when it's tough. Just a 4-ounce weight, a 3-aught hook, and instead of having that on, I just been keeping that little easy rig. It's a Cumberland Pro rig basically, but I've been keeping that on there just so I'll pick it up and try it, and starting to build some confidence. If you obviously the best way to build confidence with something is to just keep it on your deck and keep playing with it, because most things you'll get bit on it if you just keep throwing it long enough. But if you only throw it for 20 minutes, you're not going to get any confidence in it.
Yeah, Denny's wouldn't know how that Tokyo rig worked.
It works pretty good. Like I said, I caught about a 3.5-pound largemouth, and I caught some dinks over there at Egypt yesterday on it. It comes through cover pretty good. It's real sensitive, and it's got a really good action. It gives that bait a lot more freedom. It's not tied to the weight at all. It just got a nice fluid motion. You can throw it out and kind of reel it in real slow and kind of bounce it along the bottom. It looks good with the swim bait on there too. Just a little 3-inch flipper or something. You can throw it out and reel it in. It just got a little bit different look to it.
John B was saying what to do with the ring.
Yeah,
funny enough, I don't know if you guys watched BTL today, but Douglas was on there. Josh.
Yeah.
Actually, Josh and I are pretty good buddies, and we used to be in the same bass club a long time ago. But the ringed hook, all it is, it's probably a little hard to see, but you basically have a welded split ring right above your, let's see if I use my visor as the backdrop there, right? So you tie to that little ring, and there's no reason you can't just put your own split ring on a EWG hook. The nice thing about the ones you buy from Gamakatsu or VMC is that it's a welded ring, so there's no gaps in the ring at all. But if you can find the right size split ring that's a strong enough split ring that you feel comfortable setting the hook on braid or 25-pound fluorocarbon without opening it up, and that will fit through the eye of your hook. So you need kind of a small wire but strong wire split ring you can put your own on, or you can buy them this way. I think there's a couple things is that, like, you get really free movement out of your bait when it falls, right? It's almost like a Texas rig meets a biffle head, right? You've got that swinging action. So I think it imparts a little freer action. That's one of the things they say about the Tokyo rig, right, as well, is that you get a little more free range of your bait because your weight is to the wire, and then you got basically the same thing to the hook, right? So I think that is part of it. Maybe there's a little bit with the noise hitting that ring versus maybe that could be something. But for whatever reason, the hookups for me on this, and most people that I've talked to, and I'm not going to claim credit for this, watching videos that Seth did, interviews Seth Fighter has done, he talked about this, and after hearing him tout it for over a year, I was like, I'm going to try that. So I bought some of these from Omnia over the winter, and I really started fishing them this spring, and I'm a believer. And then I've had a bunch of guys come up to me and go, yeah, I heard you talking about it on a stream. I heard you talking about it on your podcast or your video, and I tried that. You know what? You're not joking. They're like, my hookup percentage just went through the roof. I don't know what it is, but I don't lose fish hardly ever when I'm punching grass or flipping wood with this ringed EWG. I don't know.
Yeah, Johnny B wants to know how the knot holds up with the tungsten weight banging on it constantly.
Yeah, I mean, not much different than a Texas rig, other than maybe my plastic holds up. I tie a double San Diego jam knot, which is a pretty beefy knot with 3 ends on it, so it doesn't really hammer down real hard. I mean, there's a little bit of a shock absorber. So my setup is typically 20-pound fluoro, 3/4 to 1 ounce tungsten weight, tying to that. There's 2 different styles. I go with the X. I don't know. They're heavy duty. The HD hook, not their regular EWG. Usually a 4/0 and then I'm doing a double San Diego jam knot. And I usually last straight fluoro. I know like Seth and those guys like to do like 30-pound braid to 20 or 25-pound fluoro. It's not really my thing, but I haven't had any issues. I mean, you still got to check it and retie. So, I think just the weight going back and forth on your line with the bobber stops, you want to check it anyways, but I haven't had any problems with breakup. So,
yeah, that weight's kind of concave in the middle too.
Yeah, and most of the good weights now have a little pocket, right? So it's not.
Yeah. Is that the super line hook? Is that what you're?
It's I wouldn't really call it a super line. It's probably not as heavy as like the super line Gami, but it's definitely a stronger wire. I would say it's like a 2X hook, not a 3X maybe.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And Whitewell just made a perfectly good point there. You could always use a peg or bobber right above your knot and to keep them hitting that too.
Yeah, those
If I was having issues, I'd definitely consider that, but I've not had. I'm already using 2 bobber stops above the weights. If I had a third one, then if I ever get bit off by a pike, I'm going to lose like a half a pack of bobber stops every time.
Now, are you any certain type of bobber stops or pegs or anything like that?
VMC, 6 cents, whatever the cheapest ones I find on Tackle Warehouse when I'm filling my cart or Omnia or the store or wherever I'm at.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've been this year alone. I started buying the 6 cents ones, and I've been a lot happier with those than I have a couple of the other ones. They don't seem to slide nearly as much. They don't wear out as easy. But they're
pretty inexpensive too. The 6 cents ones are.
Yeah, I think I paid like $10 for maybe like
90 or
90 of them. Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
I think they're only like a buck something a pack. So
yeah, they're big and fat too. The ones seem to stop their weight a little bit better. Some of those chunks, the bigger chunks, can have a little bit bigger hole. And you got to be careful because if you get smaller bobber stops, they'll actually almost wedge up inside of it.
Yeah, the worst ones I've ever had were from Bass Pro. They were the different colored ones or whatever, and those things.
They were true bobber stops. They weren't punch stops. They were
exactly. Yeah. You got yellow and you got red and you got black, and you use all the black ones first, and then you're stuck with it.
But those things, they could wear out on your line just constantly.
Yeah.
They just keep sliding up and down. So I didn't care for them too much, but.
Johnny B says, does it come through the grass well with the ring?
Yeah, no difference. I haven't noticed any difference between straight tying to the hook and the ring as far as coming through the grass. I think you got so much weight there, displacing it that like there's just, once it's on there, you really have no, right? Like, I don't think so. I haven't had any issues.
Well, I'm a believer in that. I'll definitely be trying that real soon because as much as I fish a Texas rig, it makes total sense. After seeing that easy rig and the action that you get out of the bait, not being pinned up to the weight. So I'm gonna be trying those out for sure. I'll probably do the split ring thing. Spro makes some really solid split rings.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that it doesn't fight the inside of the eye, right? Like it's not so thick that
Yeah.
And like one of the things about your tube, and having that fall, that kind of that natural fall like this, I would think that'd probably get the same fall doing that. That's probably a little bit better deal there, I would think, with that more to that movement to that bait and everything. Rather just a regular standard Texas rig is just going to fall straight down.
You'll probably get your weight, and then your bait's going to come up like this probably.
Right, but I would say with it, depending on what bait you use, if it's got a lot of drag to it or whatever, it might fall a little bit different too. Depending on how heavy your weight you're using too.
Well, I know that BFE you'll find when you get some rich that it's really got a unique gliding action because it's got that big paddle tail, that solid paddle tail. It's a little bit different than most things. It's kind of in between like a D-bomb or a beaver and a tube kind of. It's a hybrid the way it falls. It's really interesting and it's small.
It's supposed to arrive tomorrow, so we'll see.
Yeah. Ron wants to know if you fished the ring hook on a standard Texas rig worm yet.
I would. I just haven't thrown. Like if I'm Texas rigging now, I'm probably, if I have a weight in front of my bait, I'm probably throwing a ringed hook. I think. I just haven't thrown like a Texas rig ribbon tail in a while. A lot of times up here in Minnesota, if we're throwing a worm, we're throwing on a jig worm. That's kind of what we throw it on, but on weed lines and stuff. But yeah, I would see no reason, like whether it was a baby brush hog or a beaver or anything on a Texas rig, I would definitely give that ringed hook a try. I think it's legit. And I'm not sponsored by VMC, so.
Right. Yeah. So I'm a believer now. I've been
because I was saying is when you're making your own, because I tried making my own Tokyo rigs, and sometimes it was hard finding the right size split rings that wouldn't like bind, right? Like, so that's just the key. You want it to keep it really free, but.
Yeah, Sean says he's going to try some of the BFEs. Check them out, Sean. I think you'll like them. They're a little smaller. They're a little more finessey than, say, a Beaver or a D-Bomb for sure. D-Bomb's a little bit bigger, but
kind of like the baby. They call it the baby D-Bomb? No,
it's almost the same size as a Beaver. It's really close, but it just got a different profile. And the thing I found that I really like the most about it is how well it comes in and out of glass. I don't know why, the shape of it, I guess, because it's like a tube type shape, but it slides in a lot easier than like a Beaver. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm excited. I ordered them because in 2 weeks I've got a tournament at Leech Lake up in northern Minnesota, and it's probably going to be 90% flipping wild rice, which is the clingiest, grabbiest stuff you'll flip. So it'll be a good place to test it.
Yeah, you'd be happy with it. So while we're talking about baits, when it's real tough out on the water, what is your confidence bait if you need to get some bites?
And it depends on the situation, but like you said earlier, baby brush hog, like that's like panic box type stuff like that. I feel like that's something you can always get bit on. Put that on like a 3/16 or quarter ounce weight, 15-pound fluorocarbon, and drag it, flip it, pitch it, swim it. Like that's a good bait. I would say a Nico rig with like a dinger is another one that I would throw quite a bit. Or shallow, like a wacky rig if it's really tough, or a weightless Senko. I know when I fished, last time I qualified for the national championship, I was throwing just a Texas rig weightless Senko on a spinning rod, and just like I found these, like in practice you could just go catch them on buzz baits and jigs and just power fish, and it was awesome. And then we had that was all day or all practice. It was windy and rainy and perfect low pressure largemouth conditions. And then the 3 days of the tournament, it was bluebird, not a breath of wind. Them fish just clamped up, and like it was just nobody caught a limit in 3 days. And I went from like power fishing all these spots to these just running these little pockets with little grassy sand in the back, and there'd be 1 or 2 fish in the back of them, like chasing little bait fish and bluegills, just little resident fish. And I would get like 30 yards away and just zing a weightless Senko, and then just sit there and wait for them to swim off with it.
Yeah. I was just fishing that Saturday at the tournament because it was so tough.
Yeah,
you can ask Gabe. I'm not a finesse guy. I hate throwing anything finesse at all. And I threw a wacky rig there and a weightless Senko, and it was still. You get those little. I caught 2 little bass for probably 6 or 7 inches, but they were just picking up the tail and just running off with it. The one I caught, it out even hooking. He just had half the Senko down the throat. Yeah. So I just left him in the boat, but I mean it was tough. But
one of the hardest things to do is the same situation you were just talking about when you're smashing on power fishing techniques, and sometimes this will happen just in the course of a day, and then you've got to slow down, you got to put it in low gear and start dragging something or fishing something weightless. That's a hard adjustment to make. Especially
it was a 3-day tournament, and the first day of the tournament, about halfway through the tournament, a couple times I noticed fish getting spooked by my buzzbait. They went from, chomping it in practice to like, it was clear enough in the back of these pockets. I actually saw the fish and I was like, oh, all right. And I basically started like adjusting from there on. And like, I went from catching 1 fish on a swim jig the first day of the tournament to like catching multiple fish each day from there on by adjusting, and then kind of slowly climb my way back to the top of the Minnesota team. So. Yeah.
Well, a good example of that in say a 1-hour time frame would be something that we kind of experienced yesterday, where we've been having a lot of schooling fish in our area lately. There's the shad are starting to school up, and the bass are just chomping, and it'll be stupid for a while. Top water, just underspin, small swim bait, and you're getting bit quite often. and then they'll calm down and it's just kind of dead and you can't get bit at all.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times what I found is if you throw something like a light Texas rig or a shaky head or something out below those fish and just drag it, you'll get bit. So you're going from just power fishing, doing whatever you want, then, you know, 1 minute you're doing that, the next minute it's just like you got to fish super, super slow. So
I was dealing with the same thing with that 6-pounder I lost a couple weeks ago. That was the exact same deal. I was getting some schooling ones out on the point, and then they shut off. But then I went to dragging that Texas rig, almost like a Carolina rig, across a little bit of gravel there, and that's when I picked that one up.
And I think a lot of times those fish, after they've been busting through those shad, they do take a break, and I think they go down and kind of pick up the scraps and stuff, and you know, clean up. That's just my theory on it.
John said he'd rather dig his eyeballs out than throw wacky rig nuts.
Yeah, I would too. But if it's the difference between cashing a check and not cashing a check or moving on to the next tournament, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But then fish guys they won't eat the jig before. They're like, I'm going to give them every opportunity to eat that jig before I switch to a spinning rod.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like doing that too. Sometimes I just like to throw a spinning rod just to see. I don't know. It's just fun.
I'm out. I'm gone.
I didn't say you had to. I said sometimes I do. I don't know. You got 14 rods on the deck.
I think you and I are in the same boat here with this.
We can't be virtual friends anymore, Monty. We're done.
I have learned to I can throw a weightless Cinco on a bait caster. I don't need a finesse rod.
I'll go home and get my 7-Eleven punching rod and sleep with it tonight just to make things right. So, do you guys have now? Last time we talked, you told me you don't have any shad up north. And I didn't really thought about that.
Mississippi River does, but not much else. If there could be a few oddball lakes and reservoirs here and there, but for the most part, our national lakes don't have any shad. So it's basically the Mississippi River that has it. And then, but we have a lot of emerald shiners and smelt and golden shiners and tulibies and, like all these little weird forage minnows. They're not shad. Like, it's not the same. Like, we definitely don't see the schooling action outside of the river in Minnesota. Like, they'll come up and bust a few bluegills here and there, but you don't have that like wolf pack eating most anywhere.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was if you had like a fall schooling frenzy like we have down here.
Hank wants to know what
the river for sure.
Bait caster said.
Can you click that and put it up on?
Yeah.
We got a question for you.
Best finesse bait caster setup. I guess it depends how fast you want to get. I mean, my lightest bait casters are 3-power Dobbins rods, and then I like those with any kind of 50 size Daiwa or Shimano reel. One of the smaller, kind of lower profile bait casters. They seem to handle lighter baits better. I know some guys get really finessey and they'll get like a 2-power and they'll use them for drop shot and that stuff. But if I'm going to go that light, I'm going to pick up the spinning rod. So.
Yeah, I'll go 8-pound test on a 7-foot medium smoke rod, and that I can throw, 16th ounce stuff with that. But typically, I'm the same way. I'm going to just go to a spinning rod.
To me, the advantage of the spinning rod is the drags are better when you get to the lighter line, and then typically the vertical drop. You cannot replace the vertical drop. But the free spool of a spinning rod, when you're like throwing a jig worm or a drop shot or shit like that, bait will go straight down where you cast it. No matter how much line you put on a bait caster, you're going to get a little pendulum action, in my opinion. So that's Ned rig, drop shots, that kind of stuff. I'll use the spinning rod because I really believe it's the right tool for the application.
So I got another question about fall fishing. Do you find that the northern fish make a migration? Is that common up there as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
stay in your natural lakes.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it a migration, but there's definitely a push shallow for a certain percentage of the fish. There's definitely a wave of big fish that go shallow when we get kind of between, like, I would say 62 and 50-degree water temps. So it's happening about right now, and it'll go until we get to about anywhere from 40 to 52, depending on the lake. They'll go away, and they'll just go back to their wintering holes. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's the grass dying, if there's a frog migration, if it's the turnover, or if there's some other forage that moves shallow. But they tend to really get on that hard cover. So docks, laydowns, pad stems, reeds, cattails. Like, there's usually like a window on lakes where it can get real nutty, where you got literally one of your best chances to catch the biggest fish of the year all year in that window. Like, I probably caught 8 or 10 6-pounders in Minnesota in my life, which is an absolute giant in Minnesota. 6-pounder is a big deal. Our state record is only like almost 9 pounds. And I think all but one of them have been after October 1st.
It's interesting.
So you got, what's your biggest smallmouth? 7?
For the state record or mine?
for yours.
My personal 5 something, probably 5 1/4, 5 1/2. I don't know that I've ever actually weighed, but it's definitely not 6, and it's probably a touch over 5 somewhere. Personally, state record is like 8 even on the nose.
Ooh.
That's a monster.
That's a
monster. Yeah, mine's a 4.5 pounder caught out of Kentucky Lake, which that's big for me. I was very happy with that fish. That was a long time.
It was probably 3 inches longer than my personal best.
Yep. Yeah, there are definitely footballs up there.
What's up, Tyler?
We got any questions on here for him?
Stan wants to know where you can get one of those hats you got.
That I have?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, Rich, you have to make the one Rich has. You have to make it yourself. Oh, this is a YOLOTech hat, so you can go to YOLOTech, their website, and get one of these hats. So very comfortable hat. So it looks like a little alien on there or something. I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, or maybe it's just a guy that's just really happy. I don't know. So,
I didn't even think about what hat I was wearing. I really want to wear that tonight.
Yeah,
I'll catch up with that later, I'm sure.
So I got another question. You kind of touched on this a little bit on Bass Talk Live, but this is always a controversial topic. Do you prefer like a 5-fish format, or not that controversial? 5-fish format or the all-fish format?
Not his hat controversial.
Yeah, we're not going there.
I like fishing them both. Like, fishing wise, they're both fun. I think if I had to pick one, it would be 5-fish to fish, just because where I'm at. If I had unlimited time to pre-fish, and I really wouldn't care. Like, we have a circuit up here called the Classic Bass Champion Tour, and it's in every fish counts. But they literally have no off limits on their practice, and almost no limits on information sharing. And guys are there. Most of them, you're fishing for $12,000. It's $1,000 entry fee. Most of them spend a week there. And I just don't have a week per tournament if I'm going to do my federation and that kind of stuff on top of it. So I tried fishing a couple of those in a day and a half, 2 days of practice, and I did okay in a couple of them. But on average, I would get smoked because, like, if you're not catching them all day, and up here, if guys are practicing, they're going to find a dozen schools. And so, like, if you show up with 2 schools and they have a dozen schools, it's not going to work out for you very well.
Right.
But it was like draw a name out of the hat and show up tomorrow with no practice. I would definitely be more apt to just fish those. I wouldn't have a problem. But I definitely fish more 5-fish tournaments. I enjoy the 5-fish. For me, most of the tournaments I'm getting like 2 days of practice on. And for me, I feel like I've been doing this long enough. If I get a couple bites in the tournament or in the practice, a lot of times just to get me in an area or get me pointed in the right direction, I can figure it out in an 8-hour day and somehow put 5 decent bites in the boat, right?
Right.
Unlimited practice and what I'm kind of dealing with based on the number of tournaments, the number of vacation time I have, the 5-fish probably fits me a lot better. So since I fish those more, when I watch them, I relate more to the five fish. For whatever reason, I enjoy the decision making and the process of a five fish tournament as a fan when I'm watching it on live.
Yeah, that's the same way I feel about it. I like the five fish. I like the BAS style versus the VPT because I like to see guys problem solve, and a lot of times I like watching the live mix where it's just a camera and one boat, and you can see that guy for an hour and see what decisions he's making, and you know,
I think it's a lot of junk fishing the other way.
Which way?
I mean, if you're trying to just with the MLF style
all fish counts.
Yeah, it's just you're doing a lot of fishing, just in my opinion.
Yeah, I do a lot of junk fishing anyway.
Well, right. But when you fish a tournament, you kind of have a plan going into it of areas you want to hit at certain times and this and that, and you kind of know what you're going to throw. Not that it always plans out that way, but the other way, you're literally just, if something's not biting then and there, you don't have time to go run here and run there and do this and do that. You're just kind of throwing whatever you can.
Yeah, you just got to pick the right area, I guess.
Right.
And
yeah. And if you don't pick the right area, then you're down for quite a while trying to figure something out. But I don't know. Just my opinion.
The 2 pound minimum definitely helped because, like, I'm sure you guys fish the Ozarks and Table Rock, right? Like,
right.
Watching them whack 13 inchers one right after another, you're like, well, when I fish a tournament there, it's a 15-inch minimum, so this is dumb. You know what I mean? I felt that way about like when Edwin Evers was like in this backwater and he was mowing them down, but half the fish he caught weren't even keepers in a regular, 14-inch minimum. And even the ones that were, he probably would have had a 9-pound limit. So it's like, if I'm in a tournament, I roll in there, I catch my 9 pounds, and if I'm catching a bunch of 15 inches, I'm like, well, I got to adjust. I got to get out of here because that ain't going to cut it, right? Yeah, that's a nice start. Got some points, but like, all right, now I got to go figure out how to catch 3-pounders. Like, so the 2 pound minimum definitely helped, made it more interesting. But still, if you got on a school of 2.5 pounders, you have no decision making. You just catch them until they're gone and they don't bite anymore, right? If you're in a tournament on Egypt or Shelbyville or the river or wherever, and you catch 11 pounds and all you're doing is catching more 16 inchers and you're maybe getting a 1 ounce every 8th fish, you're going to leave, right? You're gonna I got to go find a kicker. I got to go find a 3 pound. I got to do something else. Like, so yeah, there's a lot of decision making for the guys that aren't catching them on how to get on them. But once you're on them, they just can't, right? There's no, they might cycle through the lures to get more bites, but there's no incentive for them to leave, a school of biting 2 pounders, right? So,
right.
Yeah, it is a totally different game. I haven't fished one of the all fish counts derbies. I mean, I'd like to because it sounds fun because I catch a lot of 13-inch fish.
Let's say we were going to do one ourselves, but haven't done it yet.
Yeah, but I like I'm with you on that. It's for me, it's more exciting to see the 5 fish format, just how they and I like the build. I like the relaxed feel of more of 5 fish versus they cut like the BBT. They cut and then somebody catches a fish and they cut and somebody catches the fish. It's just cut. There's no real build up to anything. There's not. I don't know how to explain that right, but I like things to kind of naturally unfold a little bit and kind of see how that's playing out. And you see somebody switch areas. Somebody decides to make a 20-minute run up the river. And then the cameraman follows him, or he has a cameraman in his boat. And when they go live, he's in a different area. And then you can see how he kind of approaches that area. It's just, to me, it just seems.
It's not like watching Jacob Wheeler for 15 minutes just kill everybody in one spot.
Yeah. Jacob Wheeler's been on fire this year. It's unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Rich, we got a question here for you from White Whale.
Yeah. It depends on the year and the circuit. But I try to fish it a handful of times and fish a few tournaments this year. I've only been down there once, fun fishing. There's a few other moving waters. We have the St. Croix. We've got a couple other small rivers. But for as far as tournament waters, the Mississippi is the main one and different parts of it. I mean, like there's parts of the Mississippi that go, 3 hours north of me that you can get on connected to other lakes and things like that. There's a few others, but that's really the main one. Other places have a few sections with a little bit of moving water here and there, but that's the predominant moving water fishery. And there's several hundred miles of it. But But I'm going to Pickwick, and that's going to have plenty of moving water in November. So
Yeah, that'll be fun. It could be really good in November. It could be
I mean, last time we were there 2 or 3 years ago, and it was almost 60 pounds for 3 days to win it. So
yeah, I think we're going a little early. It's still going to be a little tough down there. But we got that little hurricane thing that's coming in from the Gulf that could shake it up a little bit. We'll see. I mean, we could get some extra generation depending on how much rain it drops. It could change.
Reinstall that TVA app and start watching it.
Say that again.
Reinstall the TVA app on my phone and start watching the level.
Yeah, exactly. Got to stay on top of that stuff. So one more question about tournaments. How do you have a certain game plan when you go into a tournament? How do you approach like a practice day? Do you, some people will break a lake down into certain sections and just focus on that section. Some people will try to sample. They might run all the way down to Ticonderoga and then run back up. They'll try to sample each part of the lake. How do you approach that?
Yeah, it varies a little bit. Kind of depends on how many days of practice I'm going to get. One thing that I think a lot of people maybe miss and kind of underestimate on some. I mean, if you're fishing a decent sized tournament water, where wind can be a factor, I'm watching that wind forecast all through practice. So especially on like where I'm going to Leech Lake, it's massive, 120,000 acres, and it's wide open in places. So like getting to your water is a thing, right? Like people lose their boats out there and break stuff and don't make it back all the time. Mille Lacs, Sturgeon Bay, like even some of these other ones. But like also like I'm always watching that. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to practice for the wind forecast to some degree. I want to make sure what I find is going to be fishable during the tournament, or maybe, hey, I think that's actually going to be better because there's going to be a little to moderate wind on it, so that may actually make the bite better. So I practice and scout for the wind because, most of us, right, we're fishing 1 and 2 day tournaments, right? I mean, if you're fishing an Elite Series tournament, 4 day open tournament, it starts to get a little harder to practice for 3-4 days. But on a 1 to 2 day tournament, I'm watching that wind. That's part of what my practice. Depends how much I know about the lake. I'm going to do some research on it, understand what is it going to take, right? Like, am I looking for keepers? Am I looking for 2-pounders? Am I looking for 4-pounders? And then, on a place like Pickwick, I'm probably going to do some research, above and beyond of me just being a fan of the sport and knowing a little bit about Pickwick. I'm definitely going to kind of figure out what key areas, right? Is it the lower end? Is it the spillway? Is it the, the grass flats below the islands where you guys are going to probably be hanging out? But like, so I'm going to kind of like probably do some scouting, learn about key areas, look at those. And it kind of depends, right? Like, how am I going to get to pre-practice? So I only have 2 days of practice. If I have a lot of time to practice or I'm pre-scouting, I might do some stuff. I like to get a little bit off the wall too. I like to do some Google Map and look at stuff to like, are there any rivers or creeks or, culverts or, a little watershed back in the creek and things like that. Like last year for the state tournament for TBF, I found this little like just super low profile culvert. It was probably like just 10 yards wide, but it was only about 10 inches high. But it was probably 30 yards deep, and there was a little lake on the other side. And it was ever so slight current coming out of there, and I almost won the tournament off that thing. So, like, I like to mix it up. I like to fish some of the main stuff, look for things that are obscure, got a little John Cox in me at times where I like to get kind of shallow and then back into stuff, like on the river and things like that. But I typically sample a little bit of everything until I find something that I like, that I feel like is something I can work with and build off of. And then I will typically expand that area or find stuff that I can put between there and the ramp and make a path back. Or I'm usually trying to find kind of a home base and then like, how do I build off of that in a way that makes sense on that particular water, right? Yeah, a lot of rambling there, but hopefully there was a few nuggets.
Yeah, and then you kind of get what's the most efficient way to cover that water too. That's another thing you got to think about, because you don't want to be running here and then running there and then running here. there's a timing aspect to a lot of that stuff. Is if, like you said, if you've got several days, maybe one area fished better in the morning, one fished better in the afternoon. That's that. I'm just thinking how kind of I approach that stuff. You try to pattern the fish based on their feeding times too, as much as the areas. Obviously, you got to have fish in the areas to get bit, but there's times when they feed in areas better than other areas. So that's another thing to consider.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, you might find them really good in the afternoon punching grass, right? But that bite might not be there at 6 a.m., right? So you might need to, at least you can throw a topwater or a reaction bait in the morning for an hour till the sun comes up before that grass bite really turns on or something like that. And if you can, if you got a buddy, if you're fishing team tournaments or you're fishing pro-ams, like BFLs, it helps a ton to have somebody with you. You know, if you can throw the reaction bait and they can drag the bottom bait or cover different water columns, you'd be surprised how much faster you can cover water. Because a lot of times you find yourself like fishing a bluff end, right? And you like throw a jerk bait or a spinner bait down there, and you don't get bit, and you go, well, maybe I should go back through it with a finesse bait quick, right? Like, it takes twice as long to fish that bluff end. Whereas if there was two guys in the boat, you'd be like, hey, dude, I need you to do this. I'm going to do this. We're going to cover the two water columns, and that's going to be the fastest way for us to break this down and find out what's going on today.
Yeah. And if you're seeing the bait locked on the bottom in the same kind of scenario, one guy could be flipping just a beaver or a jig, and the other guy would be fishing a 10-inch worm, because those are two different profiles, and sometimes they want one or the other. And that's part of having a good partner that will do that.
I mean, do you think back when Thrift was in his heyday in the FW Tour, he always practiced with a traveling co. When there was a reason.
Brian New.
Yeah. Well, and other guys too, but Brian New was probably the most famous one. But he had a handful of guys that would rotate, and their whole group, you know, Matt Airy and all those guys, they all had co's, and they would kind of, even Scott Martin, look at all those videos when he was on the tour. He was always practicing with what's that guy's name, and a couple other guys, Billy, right? So I mean, those guys catch one or two fish a day, and they give you a clue that makes a ton of difference.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of times where this happened the other day where I'm fishing for those suspended fish, and my buddies threw a spook out there. The fish are down; they've been down for a while, and he caught two on a spook. You know, those fish were. Either I was fishing below those fish, most likely I was fishing below those fish, or they just didn't want that little swim bait, but they were willing to come up and blast a spook on the top of the water, which is, you know, two completely different types of presentations.
Should have a pink shirt on.
Yeah, I know.
Got him in.
I gotta get that thing going. We gotta. Do you know about the pink shirt?
I heard about it. You should probably wear it on the stream one of these times too. Just to, I mean,
I need to.
Like as interest for not paying up sooner, you should have to wear it on a stream one night too.
That sounds like
I think the stream needs to go black right now.
No.
Yeah, I gotta wash it first. And then I'll wear it. I'm trying to get out of it. I'm waiting until wintertime.
I'll say you've only had it for a month.
Yeah, I know. Every time I leave the house, I'm like, dang, I should have brought that shirt.
Yeah.
I almost turn around and go back and get it, but I never do. So, got any more questions for him?
That's all I had. He covered all mine. So,
yeah. I had the only other question I was going to bring up is just to talk a little bit about like the YouTube thing. So, do you have, when you go to a lake, if you know you're going to be shooting some video or something, do you ever approach the lake with a certain technique in mind to catch them a certain way, or do you just find yourself just going fishing and letting it happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, my practice videos and tournament videos, it's all about the practice and the tournament. And I'm just kind of documenting that. Like, I'm not worried about how I'm going to catch them. I'm just worried about catching them. There are days that I'll go out fun fishing with a little bit of an agenda. That sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. I would like to do more, like, I've been trying to get Stovey to do a 1v1 or a challenge, and we do something a little quirky and fun, kind of more, lure challenge or 1v1 or, all frogs or something like that. I've thought about doing those. just like it's hard to like. I feel like I only do so many fun fishing. A lot of my stuff is tournament practice feeds, but I definitely would like to do more like, hey, like beaver versus D-bomb, or like striking rage bug versus the knockoff Guggen, whatever bug they have, and be like, and some of that stuff. But so there's times like, a lot of times I go like, I really want to get on a frog bite, and then an hour in and be like, I've got to bite on a frog. Like, well, I guess we're gonna flip jigs. Like, so I mean, I guess it's fun to do that and set that up, but at the same time, you got to be like, okay, that wasn't the deal. Like, what did we learn today? You can't force that. So, but this is what really happened, and this is how we caught him, and this is how we, unlocked him and learned something today, and sucks less, right? So,
yeah, I think if all three of us did this full time, we would be able to make more like technique specific videos. Because I find myself doing a similar thing. I'm driving to the lake and I'm like, okay, today I want to do a frog video, like you said. Well, you can't do a frog video when the fish are out offshore chasing shad. It just doesn't. I mean, you can run the bank and you might get a few blowups, but you're not going to get the content that you're looking for. So you have to make an adjustment like midway through the day, and you're trying to put a video together, and a lot of times I only have 4 hours. That seems like that's a lot of times I get there like noon. It's just the way it works out for me. So I'll spend an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to catch a fish a certain way, and then you get to like crunch time. You're like, okay, I need to pivot to just have some kind of helpful content that I can show some people. Whether it's making a transition during the day, moving from one spot or from one group of fish to another group of fish, but kind of getting around here. But it is hard to go out with the intention of doing a certain technique when the technique's not popping right then.
Yeah. Not to mention this year has just been absolute hell.
This has been a different year.
With everybody on the water. And, we've talked about it numerous times. We've got a lot of small lake quiets, but they have been, not necessarily now, but up until probably a month ago, they've been so overcrowded, it's not funny. And it's made it hard on a lot of lakes to fish. We've got a small, I think it's 101 acres lake, and it's been covered all year long. And I tell you what, that lake has taken a beating.
That's why you got to get a spinning rod. If you got a spinning rod, you can catch those fish.
Would you like me to just throw punch him for you now, or just?
It actually happened to me a lot. This spring I was hell bent on catching some swim bait fish, and I have yet to catch one on film yet this year. And then I was like dead on. I want to do a sight fishing video. I never caught a fish on a bed this spring. Like, I just couldn't find a lake that was going at the right time. Like, I caught a couple cruising fish sight fishing, but I never found one on a bed. It was just like, I was like literally like going out in the evenings and trying to like find these bites, and I kept on finding other bites. So
it's you gotta do what the fish are doing. That's just what it all boils down to.
It's like tournament fishing. You can't go out on a certain day at a certain time and say this is what's going to happen. You just got to do with what you get.
You got to fish the moment. I mean, that's such a cliche term, but it really is. It's true. I mean, you really do have to fish the moment.
Yeah. And you said working trying to do YouTube on the side, right? Like, I'll fish once this weekend and once next weekend. Well, if I'm going to do a video every week, I've got to make a video today, right? Like,
that's right.
I know, like, it'll be. Every once in a while I'll be like, yeah, that was sucked. I'm just going to trash all that. We'll just go again tomorrow. Like, I can't do that. Like, I don't, if I'm going to go for 6-8 hours, there's going to be a video one way or the other.
Yeah. You're right. I think David's got a question for you there.
Yeah. So I don't know. Almost all my spinning stuff for finesse. So like my 2-power Dobbins rods are going to be 10 to 15 pound braid main line. I would say 12 to 15 pound main braid to like an 8 or 10 pound fluoro leader. So that'll be my shaky heads, my Ned Rees, my drop shots, my Kitex, all that stuff, all that finesse, bottom contact, smallie, largey, finesse stuff, almost all that. 12 to 15 pound braid to an 8 to 10 pound fluorocarbon leader. And that'll be like a 6 to 12 foot fluorocarbon leader. So that covers pretty much all the stuff. I usually have one rod with like 20 to 30 pound braid, and then I'll have anywhere from like 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon leader, and that's what I'll use for docks. With like if I am forced to pick up a weightless plastic and skip it because they won't eat my jig, that's will be the setup for that. That'll be a 703 Dobbins Fury. So that's my spinning rods in a nutshell. Cranking is going to be pretty much all 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon for me. Maybe 15 if I'm doing some square bills and some nasty stuff. And then I'll have a couple rods for lighter Texas rigs. It'll be in that 12 to 15 pound fluoro. And then almost everything else is going to be like 17 or 20 pound for like jigs, Texas rigs, that kind of stuff. Chatterbaits, spinner baits. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how I break it down. If you really want to see like super detailed, I've got like a 4-part Dobbins video series where I go rod by rod, technique by technique, like rod and reel setup, line, and the whole works. I've got like, there's an hour of content if you really, really want the nitty gritty.
There you go. Do you have a certain brand of line that you prefer?
Pretty much Seaguard
Sunline.
Seaguard Sunline. Yeah.
I'm saying here.
And like for my reaction stuff, I'll use like the Sunline Assassin or the Seaguard Red Label, kind of their entry level, right? Like I don't feel like that is a big deal for like crankbaits and spinner baits and stuff like that. For my jigs and Texas rigs, you know, I want the Sniper or the Invisex, a little bit nicer stuff. And then for my leader, like I'll buy a 8-pound spool of Tatsu. You know, sure it costs $40, but I get I don't know how many hundreds of liters off a 200-yard spool, right? At 60.
Is that pretty much? I've never bought it. But is it? I mean, can you tell the difference?
Oh, it's nice. I actually one time bought a 20-yard spool, put on my jig rod, and it was amazing. But I can't afford that. So.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I found an old spool of that Red Label, and I tried it for jigs, and it just doesn't have the abrasion resistance, or at least I found it. But I was just thinking, it's real affordable, and why am I not using this for moving baits? I mean, this, you know, you can get by with a little lesser quality line with moving baits. So it's funny you just brought that up.
Well, so I've been
and I would say the other setup I didn't cover is like for most of my top waters will be like frogs and buzzbaits will be straight 50, 60 pound braid. And then my like walking and popping top waters will be like a 30 to 40 pound braid with a short like 12, 15 inch, 15, 17, 20 pound fluorocarbon leader. Mm-hmm. And I use fluorocarbon because I don't usually have mono in the boat. Otherwise I'd use mono. But that short a leader doesn't really seem to affect the walking or the action because it's not enough to pull it down.
Do you use a snap or a ring on your walking baits?
Both. One or the other. One or the other. I don't tie loop knots, so I'll use one or the other. It kind of depends if the bait has it or not. And or if I'm in practice and I don't know what's going on and I want to switch a lot, I'll put a snap on there. But if I'm in a tournament and I know what I want, then I'm probably just going to put it on an O-ring.
Yeah. I use that snap. I've used that snap forever for cranking and basically anything where I'm going to be changing out on hard baits.
Sure.
Just because I like to change stuff out. I was going to ask you, what knot do you use on your, say, your spinning rod from your Florida braid leader? Do you have a certain knot you use?
So, what's that one? I think I was using trying to remember the name of it now. There was one that was kind of unconventional that I was using, and it was.
It's not the Alberto, is it?
No, well, I'm starting to use the Alberto more for like trying on my like heavier stuff, like my bait casting braid to fluoro, experimenting with that because I feel like that holds up. I can't wrap my head around the FG knot, so if I can't tie it in 2 minutes in a tournament, I don't really want to like. So I've been playing around with that. I forget what it was called. I want to say Eugene, but I don't think it was the Eugene knot. There's a really simple knot that I've used on a lot of my spinning rods that seems to hold up really well, and I can't think of the name of it. But like if you're just like doing this, it holds up all day, never break it. But as soon as you like whack, it pops. So like I cannot use it on like a jig or a
uni.
Yeah.
So I have the same problem with the double uni knot.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not good for any kind of
impacts.
Yeah.
No, there's a big difference with a braid to floor with a spinning rod versus a punching. I haven't found I think that's going to have to be an FG knot as far as like a punching application, because I've broke a lot of knots doing that.
I haven't done it a ton, but so far that the Alberto knot, or the version that Justin Lucas ties, seems to be holding up for me. That small sample size so far.
That FG knot, and I sat down like for 2 hours one night, and I could get it 1 out of like 7 or 8 times. I'd get it, and then I would screw it up again. It's kind of like the first game of pool you play at the beginning of the night is usually the best game for me. But the more I do it, the more I kept screwing it up. So I had to sleep on it, and I've never tried it again.
It's probably because you were drinking.
That might have something to do with it. But I know that's the knot to do. I need to work on that one again. There's no reason I shouldn't be able to tie that. But
I don't know. Justin Lucas has won a lot of money, and he says that FG knot is overrated and waste of time. So
it works for me. He should know. Definitely should know. Anything else coming?
No. He said, Tom said maybe the Albright knot, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think, isn't the Alberto just like the modified Albright or something like that? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I know what knot I tie, and I always call it the Jay Patel loop knot, because a buddy of mine, Jonathan Blatto, we fished BFLs down at Kentucky Lake, and his last name is Blatto, and Daniel Finley used to always say Jonathan Blattel, and he showed me this knot, so I just coined it the Jay Blattel loop knot. Just it's a age-old knot. I just put a new name to it. So, and actually,
no, I think it's the one I was thinking of. It was the Yucatan knot. It was a version of the Yucatan knot, what I would use for my spinning rods a lot.
That sounds pretty hardy. A name like that.
It's super easy to tie. There's not a lot to it, which I think why it'll hold up to a spinning rod, but like it does not like shock. Like it'll pop.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried it with like a bunch of extra wraps and like, oh, I think I got it, and then poof. Or if I ever like hang if I ever hang a Senko or something on a rock or a stump or a Ned rig, and like I go like, it'll break at the leader every time.
Yeah. So you're a San Diego Jam knot. You tie
double.
Have you had a problem with the regular San Diego Jam knot? Is that why you go to the double or not?
I don't know. I've never really played around with the single.
Okay. Because that's what I tie. I haven't had any problems with it, but I know I got a buddy that does the double, and I didn't know if you'd had a problem with the single.
So I tie the double San Diego Jam for jigs, Texas rigs, things like that. Crankbaits, topwaters, reaction baits. I usually throw a Palomar. The only time I'm throwing this double San Diego Jam out was when I'm like,
really yanked it. Yeah. Right. That's a good knot. That's a really good knot. It's so easy to tie too. I mean, that's what I like about it. I mean, the Palomar is too. You just
and then I think you can tie it like big topwaters, Carolina rigs, and things like that. You don't have to worry about looping.
Right. A rigs. Yeah. So I guess you got anything else?
No.
Shut this thing down.
Yeah, like I said, pretty much any questions that I did have, everybody else was asking too. So it kind of played out well.
Yeah. So before we go, where can everybody find you on social media?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, just HellaBass, just like on the screen there, just like it sounds. I got a Facebook fan page too, but I would say probably the most active on Instagram and YouTube. So I'm pretty good outside of when I was at Vermillion all week. I've been doing almost 2 videos a week plus a stream every week on Wednesday nights on HellaBass on YouTube. So it's been going pretty well. Might be a 1 video week this week based on that I didn't get one out tonight. But a lot more tournament stuff coming up. I've got day 3 shot any day now. I've got a fun little tournament with my club we did. I've got a Tonka tournament yesterday that we cashed a check. We got Leech coming up. We got nationals on Pickwick, so and hopefully some fall fishing too. So should be a ton of good stuff coming. And I've been on a roll. I'm fishing pretty confident these days. So I mean, hopefully we can keep that swagger going and keep knocking them out. So
yeah, and don't forget you got the Bassmaster Classic too, right?
yeah, well, fingers crossed.
I hope so, man. That'd be sweet. So that's a good deal, man. Yeah.
Yeah, if that happens, you guys can all jump on the bus. There's plenty of room and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I'll sit in the trailer if I have to. Whatever. You pull me behind the bus. Well, we're gonna let you go, Rich, man. Appreciate you jumping on here. It's good talking with you, and good luck down the road and all the tournaments and stuff, and with the channel.
It worked out. I didn't actually have to sit in my car and do it on the mobile. I got out of gymnastics duty tonight. So
yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that. So
in the Bass Cat studio, so it worked out good. Yeah, Shadow is a big fan. Shadow with the visor. So yes, if the people at home are wondering, this is a 100% custom visor, and you look up there, it's a bunch of old retired custom visors there.
And he's got a video on that too. How to make I call it a hillbilly visor. No disrespect, but you got a video on that. That was funny. I watched that.
Yeah. Honestly, if I put a normal hat on my head, it just like doesn't fit. I don't know. There's a lot of chrome dome and just I don't know. Doesn't fit. It doesn't look right.
Yeah, you pull it off good, man. You pull it off good. So it takes a certain person. I don't know if it's a size head or it's the person that's under the hat, but you do.
One guy said he said it's my lifestyle uniform. Like he's like Steve Jobs wears a turtleneck and HellaBass has a hat cut off. That's his lifestyle uniform.
Hey, if it works, man, keep it going. It seems like it's working pretty good. So
yeah, you got a good one. You got to ride it out, let the sweat stains build up in there, and like all that good stuff. That's all good mojo on the water.
Yeah, I remember I had a Cypress Hill hat. That was my favorite hat forever. And, hey, man, Cypress Hill. Hey. And my mom washed it, and I was so mad because it was perfect. It was just boom. It just sat on there, and it had all this experience. I mean, sweat, dirt, and all that. That's experience. I mean, that's part of what you've been through. It's all molded into that hat in one big, beautiful package. She threw it in the washer because it was so stanky and nasty. And man, I got mad. It bleached it all out. It was nice and pretty. And, I think I actually got it in a Tupperware tub somewhere. Just
the other thing is like functionality wise, like sunglasses tuck right in, so they lock in when you take your. So there's that. This thing fits right over the throttle when you get on plane.
Oh yeah.
A coat, you just throw it over your arm and hold on to the oh shit bar. Like it's a lot easier to hang on to than a hat, and it's got a lot of functionality. So
you need a pair of scissors and a spoon. You'd be good to go. Like just flip down and be like the old Army Swiss knife.
Put a line cutter in there, like just.
Yeah,
I gotta find those guys from Shark Tank, the line cutters, and do a custom visor with a little aids on the side of it.
Yeah, like a multi-purpose visor. Yeah, you're on.
I could have like one of those boomerang snips, like just come down from the side, like like this, right?
There's been crazier ideas. There you go. There you go. Yep, like a fly fisherman. That could be a multi-purpose fly fisherman. There's been worse ideas that have made millions of dollars. That's for sure.
I should have a GoPro mount tied into this. But.
Yeah, this thing's gonna weigh like 7 pounds by the time we're done. Put a little charcoal grill up there, and
it won't be the cool, breathable hat that it's supposed to be in the summertime.
Right. Yeah, I think you should probably just stay with what you got there. It's working.
Yeah, it's working. We'll ride it out through the next couple derbies, anyways.
Right. Good deal. All right, Rich.
All right, thanks, guys.
Nice talking to you, man.
Take care, buddy.
I'm good.
Cut him off a little bit there.
All right. That's cool, man. Oh, normal hat, I'm out. Yeah. Got anything on here for us before we shut this sucker down?
I haven't seen anything coming through, but it's been kind of a slow night, really.
Yeah, slow night.
I'm going to blame it on football.
Yeah, it might be Monday Night Football, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it happens.
My girlfriend flies out of the boat, keep going, hat comes off,
turn around. Yeah, I know, man. It happened. You know, it's weird how that hat thing, the hat flying off thing happens because
it's out of nowhere.
It's out of nowhere, and you've already made several runs with that hat and had no problem. And then all of a sudden you get relaxed and boom, there it goes. And you've only got, you got a short window to turn around and get that sucker, especially if there's a lot of chop out there in the water. I've lost a couple of hats.
So I think it was Academy. Academy had a sale on their just bright orange. I don't know what kind of hats they were, but I got one. My son got one. We went to Lake of the Ozarks. I had it for a couple months, and that thing was like gone. I turned around, it was gone. I mean, it wasn't even a split second. It was under, and I'm like, well, here goes that hat. My son, I don't know what happened to his hat, but we went down there to get another one. Well, they had one left. I think he bought it, but I never did get another one to replace it. But I think it was like $10. It was cheap for a hat, but now I can't find them anywhere.
Yeah, they're gone. So Hank Snow, he knows about that. Wow, he says, why do you have pink shirt anxiety?
Ron said, check your phone.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Hank, he's got pink shirt anxiety, that's for sure. Joe says football. Yeah. Tom said it was like watching Morse code tonight.
Okay, good deal. Well, so Ron just sent me a text, and we've been trying to get a gentleman who's a local biologist here, and it looks like that's going to be a possibility. I'm gonna jump on this as soon as I get off this stream. So we're trying to get the biologist that I guess he is in charge of Cedar Lake and some of those lakes over there in southern Illinois. I'm not really sure, but we're going to try to get him on here as a guest and talk about. There's a ton of questions I personally would like to ask.
Oh yeah, definitely.
About how slot limits work, about the bass to.
I think it was Ron on here that we were talking about the slot limits over there and stuff, and how we took approach to it to how it helped everything. But yeah, I'd definitely like to hear his input on that and how they come about with the slot limits and why they enforce them and how long they enforce them. Because that's my biggest thing is how long do you enforce that slot limit before you get, if you say they've got to be 14-inch and all of a sudden you've got just a majority of them are all 15 and a half, 16-inch, do you move that slot limit up or down or, what do you do with it? So,
yeah. So we're going to try to get him on here next couple of weeks, and guys be thinking about some questions because there's a ton of questions.
Yeah.
Like grass. I just want to know what some of the different kinds of grass are in that certain lake.
And what is witch's hair?
Yeah, what is it? Where does it come from? Is it some kind of alien goatee hair or something? It's nasty. It's definitely taking over. Yeah, HellaBass, thanks, man. That kind of makes me sit up straight.
Yeah. Sit up straight now until you got your pink shirt on.
Yeah, I want to be a man and wear a pink shirt. I got to do when there's nobody else on the lake. I'm waiting till wintertime when everybody's up in the deer stand, and I'll be out there in my little pink shirt.
Yeah,
rocking. I was just thinking if some guys see.
I'll be in the weeds videotaping you. Make sure I get it all.
Like that sick National Enquirer creepy guy up in the weeds.
A couple pieces of straw sticking out of my head. So Seth Fighter is a grass expert. Yeah.
Dave, what's up, Dave? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that trip, man. Me and Mike are gonna have some fun. We're leaving Wednesday evening
for the scissors
for Pickwick. Killing me with the first grade. Good skirts. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, I got you. Yeah. You know what? I think he's talking about those little Academy snips that I got. My buddy Jerry's got the big version. The little ones with the blue handle. Do you have any of those? They're pretty good.
Well, I don't anymore, but
yeah. But they make the next size up, which is bigger, and they are super sharp. I think they're about $10, so they're well worth it.
I bought a pair of I think the Rappels, the braid scissors. Man, I really like those. Yeah. Those are pretty dang nice. But I do have to say, as far as now, what kind of pliers do you use? Do you have just the regular stainless steel ones?
Yeah,
I bought some of the aluminum ones, and I'm really digging the aluminum. But for whatever reason, the tips are so much wider, and they're hard. I've noticed it's hard to get like into a hook on like where it's a normal pair of those pliers. You can kind of get down there and see what you're doing. But with those aluminum ones, I guess they're wider, so they're stronger. It's harder to get into those hooks with them.
There's a
Matter
company
of fact, in my last video, you'll see me kind of
struggling to get that.
Well, I don't remember exactly. I'll have to look and see. I don't remember which one it was now.
HellaBass says boomerang or boomerang snips are sweet, are the best, or that work. I haven't heard of those.
I was gonna say, what are you reading?
Down there at the bottom.
I know, but I was trying to follow
fade,
it,
man.
I need to get a pair of braid scissors that don't dull. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, the problem I've been having is being out in the sun. They're plastic. The pieces where you put your finger through are plastic, so they've been weakened. They've gotten weak and they're breaking.
Now I don't know about you guys. I got fat fingers, and if you guys ever found a pair of scissors, little small ones like that ever fit your fingers, my thumbs never fit on them. That's my biggest problem.
Good hitchhiker.
So the only ones I can keep are the ones that
I've used
hang around your neck. Yeah.
Maybe that's what he's talking about. Those boomerang snips. They're little bitty. They're short snips, and they got a little bitty.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they're only like this long on the blades. Yeah,
those work pretty good. I've used those several times.
Yeah, I don't know of any of them that stayed sharp very long though.
No, I mean you get a couple months out of it. It just depends on how much you're cutting.
And I will say this: if you're dealing with older braid, the older braid is a lot harder to cut than newer braid. Because once that wax coating or whatever it's on it leaves it, and you've got it just kind of like, I don't know, just fades out and gets stringy almost.
Yeah.
It's kind of like trying to cut thread at that point. But
yeah, it's frustrating, especially when you're tying well, you don't have this problem, but if you're tying a braid to floral leader, you're trying to get that tag in really, really close to the knot.
I had that problem this weekend though.
You did?
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I even told Dominic, I said, if Gabe was here right now, he'd be laughing his ass off right now. I guarantee.
Did you break out a spinning rod?
Yes.
You did?
No. Actually, I didn't.
I hope you got video.
No, what I did was I told Dom, I said, man, the one time I actually need my spinning rod, I didn't put it in the boat, but I had my really light bait caster, and I used that, which was fine. I mean, I can throw everything with that, but it was tough, really tough.
Yeah. You can keep that drop shot tied on. Throw a drop shot around. You can usually catch
man, I had a Ned rig, a wacky rig, a weightless Senko, and it was terrible.
HellaBass has cut out those unhooking sequences.
Yeah.
Tom's got a comment here. I was putting on new split rings and hooks while I was watching tonight. Now I need to go out to the van and get my top bar box since I found the feathered hook to put on. Man, that feathered hook. That can make a difference. I was throwing a Sammy around yesterday.
Got a wooden Sammy.
Wooden Sammy. Oh, I missed that part.
Oh, better hold on to that.
Wooden Sammy. I caught some fish on a Sammy yesterday. I hadn't thrown a Sammy in a while.
My first fish of the day was on a sexy dog. Then I had another.
That's a good bait.
Yeah, and then the second one, I'm guessing the fish was blind in one eye and couldn't see out of the other because he come up about 6 inches away from my bait and jumped over it. I'm like, really? It's like, come on.
I kept hooking them in the head. You know, a lot of times they'll come up and bust through the shad.
They try to come up and strike at it. Yeah,
I hook them in the head or the side.
Yeah, I like that sexy dog. It's pretty nice.
It's a good bait.
Have you thrown in the provokes?
No.
6 cents?
No, I have not.
So I picked one up. I think it's laying in the floor of my boat, actually. I was going to show you that. I'm pretty intrigued with that.
No, wait,
rather than spending the money on the Division 110.
Yeah, that's a jerk bait, right?
Yeah.
I have thrown a couple of those. I bought a couple last year.
You like them?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't thrown them yet, so
they're not a Vision 110. There's something about
when you spend
$25.
That back that comes down so slender, so slim.
It's just they're different, but they're good baits. They work and they'll catch fish. You keep them in your hand.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye out for. Like I said, after I lost that 110 over at Perry County, I have a hard time going back and buying it anymore. That's a lot of money just to throw.
It is, and there's a lot of other jerk baits that work just fine.
Yeah,
you know, you don't have to have one of those. I just had a couple good days on them, and now I'm
stuck on it.
It's kind of it's like tying a 2-ounce tungsten weight on. You want to make sure that you go in, in and get it. You're not going to be punching like flipping around rocks with that thing, or I don't, because I want to be able to go in there and get it.
So Tom said he uses all folding scissors, metal folding scissors.
Steve wants to know, what do you think of
Pompadours.
pompadours? What's a pompadour?
I don't know.
No, I'm not sure. I should know.
Was that a group?
The Pompadours? Yeah, they're a 60s soul band, the Pompadours. They opened for the Pompadours.
Pompadours. I'm not sure what the Pompadour is. I know I've heard of that. I know I have. I'm horrible with names, especially when it comes to baits.
But did we give a shout out to Whitewell? I don't know if he's that.
We started this.
Yeah, so
say something, but
Whitewell, thanks for these. We got Whitewell was kind enough to send us a pack of these 6 cents prawns to try out, and they're going to go to use because it's a nice looking bait, and it's starting the punch and bite starting to get good around here.
Yeah, really good.
So I'll definitely be checking these out. So I'll give you some feedback on that. Definitely.
Top water bait, folding arms on the sides of the bait.
Oh,
pulling arms on the sides of the bait.
Is it that? Okay, is that made by who's that? Who's that made by?
Oh, it freaked me out. I feel like those metal fins would interfere with hookups, but never.
See, I was thinking that'd be good when the cicadas are out. It's got that big. It looks like a jitterbug almost. I'm thinking of, but it's got metal fins on the side, and it's a big walking bait. I feel like I'm doing.
Well, let's
kind of
yeah. I was gonna say, what are you doing?
I'm just getting jiggy with it.
There
was a kayak fisherman over at Cedar about a couple months ago. We're throwing that around, catching a few fish on it.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's a jackal.
Huh. $22.
I thought Mullock's made something similar to that.
I have not seen that. I was dead wrong.
Yeah, that's a big bait.
That is freaky looking. So these fold back and
forth?
forth?
Those fold back, and it's got a tail spinner on it. So it's going to get that jitterbug, kind of that side to side action like a jitterbug does.
Old school.
Yeah, that old school.
I'm surprised it's got that body shape being at top water too. I would think it would cause it to dive down a little bit, but maybe not.
No, I think those flippers will keep it up. Probably get it really, really, really slow too.
Yeah, that ain't no kidding. Holy cow!
It's an interesting bait.
Yeah, definitely.
I bet you can get it out there really, really far.
Also feel like you have to fish it super slow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It looks like something you're gonna have to fish really slow. It just catches so much water.
Oh, Mega Bass calls one the Eisen.
Yeah, I thought Mullock's made something similar to that. It's a big bug-looking thing. No, I haven't thrown that. I wonder how does that cast? Does it catch a lot of wind? It seems like that. You know, if those things came out, you get a lot of line twists and stuff. Kind of like a light spinner bait.
Either it's going to catch wind or glide to where you want it.
Yeah.
That's a new version of it.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, stay with it. I would throw it, but I'm not paying for one yet. Now people just start killing it on it. Maybe it's a different story, but I don't know. It seems like there's just so many new and improved baits that come out every year, and everybody just blows them up, and then all of a sudden you just don't hear anything about them anymore.
Okay, he says the wings fold in during the cast. Sean says. Okay, well that's good. Huh? Well, you go buy one. We'll test it out. We'll go down here in the pond, test it out.
You go buy one. I just
shout out to Joe Marks before I forget.
Yeah, Joe.
He was on there earlier. I don't think, but
you did an awesome job. He's
Joe,
going back and forth between football and here.
Yeah, so he helped me get these stickers up and running. So I think they turned out pretty good. What do you guys think? They look okay?
I think freaking awesome.
Yeah, I think
we should have put one right here. Here.
I got some bigger ones
right there.
Okay. Hank's out.
HellaBass.
HellaBass is out.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, man. Good. Appreciate it. Sean says they make a big disturbance on the water. So when's your next tournament? Lake of the Ozarks?
Lake of the Ozarks.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll be down there in 2 weeks.
That's our classic. So I look forward to that every year. You know, that's one of my favorite places to fish. There's so many different ways to catch them. You can go offshore, real shallow to, depending on if you want to catch spots or whatever.
Joe's a big football fan.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, I got you taken care of. Sean, thanks, man. I'm working on some t-shirts too. So I got to get, like I said earlier, I got to get some things lined out before I can get those up and out.
So Joe, do you make a lot of these stickers like this?
Nope.
No?
Just a little bit in spare time.
Gotcha.
Tom says he was re-breaking a topwater walking bait I salvaged tonight that was hung in the riprap. Matt, that's under the riprap.
Huh.
Yeah, you know, do you usually go and when you see a bait on the bank, if it's in like a tree or something, do you usually go and try to get them out, or you just keep on going?
Oh, if it's, I always check it out, see what it is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. So last week,
I hear you,
yeah.
DJ.
Last week we went and fished a little deal. It was me and my oldest son. We did a little 1 versus 1, which when that comes out, you guys got to watch that. Let's just say somebody got a butt whooping big time. But anyway, there was a line that I could see off this stump that was floating. It was some braid. So I went over and I grabbed it. And I was, if I ever see line floating like that anywhere, I always grab it, you know, and get in the boat. Because I don't want it in my trolling motor. Not to mention everybody else can get hung up on it anyway. But we fished that tournament Saturday down at Clearwater. And somebody's got a trout line. And they got it tied to this big boulder. And it's on a bluff wall. So I don't know how deep it goes. And I know it was there last year.
Huh.
I mean, it's the same line. And I was like, well, I'll try to get it up, you know, get it out of people's, because everybody's going to get hung on it. There was no pulling up the thing. I don't know what it's tied to down there, but it's not going
Probably
anywhere.
like a 200-pound catfish or something.
Oh, it was, like I said, I know it was there last year because me and another guy fished the exact same bluff wall, and I seen it last year and got hung on it. So I know it was the same one, but
it's probably
somebody just forgot it.
It's probably
somebody probably just forgot it out there, and it's got a boulder tied to the other end of it.
Huh. I was fishing with my buddy Jerry last year in Egypt, and he got hung up, and he reeled in a brand new Megabass 110, Vision 110. Brand new.
Wait, where is that?
It's in the boat. It's in his tackle box. That's where it's at.
It wasn't in Perry County, was it?
No. And it was in Western Clown too, which is my favorite color. We've just been talking about that color.
You guys got clown. I just don't care for the clown.
Oh yeah?
Trust me, I know it works.
It works good in stained water. It works really good in stained water.
Okay, that's where I differ from a lot of people. When I've got the stained, nasty looking water, I don't throw a jerkbait. I'll go with a black jig or something like that. But if I like clear water, and I like either that ghost color or just some kind of translucent color, maybe that or some kind of like a shad color somewhere.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing I
Well, when the water's cold, you know, when you got low 40-degree water and you're fishing around grass and stuff, you're not going to get bit on a jig most of the time.
Right.
So you got to fish, you know, that the spinner bait is what I found works in that situation, and a jerk bait. So that's that clown color will work in muddy water, muddy cold water.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of where I got confidence in doing that. But yeah, that's not an ideal situation to fish a jerk bait by any means. I mean, if you're fishing a more rocky lake, yeah, the jig's probably the way to go with that. But that's a good color.
251 Reeling says, my son's high school tourney, in the books, it was hot.
Yeah. Where'd they fish at, Paulie? That's Paulie D, you remember?
Yeah.
He changed his name.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting that. He's had it like that for months.
Well, I seen him pop up earlier, and I'm like, I know that guy. I know that guy. He changed his name, but I can't remember who he was before.
Yeah, Tom. Joe does a great job. He's done a lot of signs for people and wraps and stuff. He's got it figured out. He's been doing that I think he told me he's been doing it for about 30 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he
did a good job. I'm impressed with the colors and detail and everything on it.
Yeah. We did a little bit of tweaking. The original logo was a little bit different. It was more earth tones, and he kind of just played around with the colors and figured some stuff together. And I'm like, that looks great, man. Lake Martin. Okay. So yeah, it's that time of year, Paulie. It can be tough. I mean, I've been having some good days, and I've been having some really tough days, and it just depends. Every day is a little bit different. I got to go.
Dave said he's got a pair of surgical stainless steel scissors that are scary sharp.
Yep.
They're made in Pakistan.
You can buy those if you got to have a connection or something. But somebody that works in a like a surgical room or something, I think they can only use that stuff like one time, and then it gets discarded. So a lot of that stuff, I don't know exactly how to get that. A lot of times you can get that online or like on eBay and stuff. They'll
dig
sell
into
that.
their trash can again.
Yeah, because you wait outside late at night in the dumpster and you get all that stuff.
Put your raccoon mask on.
Yeah, but that surgical grade stuff's legit. It's gonna last a lot longer. It's not gonna rust as much. That's a problem I have with pliers is I can keep a pair of pliers in my boat for about 3 months and then they start rusting because I'm fishing out in the rain a lot. I need some.
I made a little deal on my boat that's actually it's a little holder that I bought it from the dollar store, Dollar Tree or whatever. It's a little plastic deal. I cut the bottom of it off and half of it and I stuck it to the side. That way everything drains down through it. And I got a little foam pad in there that my pliers and everything stick in little holes. So everything runs down through there and it don't sit in water. Yeah. So I had the same problem with my other ones. They were constantly getting rusted.
Yeah. I actually got some of those Lew's aluminum pliers. It was one of their promo deals a while back where I think you bought a rod or a reel or something. You just had to pay postage on that and they'd send you, I don't know. There was like a tier. You could get like a shirt or you could get
that pink shirt
plier. They didn't have no pink shirts. No, nobody carries pink shirts.
I mean, you're lucky. You got a pink shirt.
Yeah, it's priceless. But I got those. I need to put them in the boat. They're sitting there. I don't even use them. John says, have you fished a crab orchard? Because I think that's how I found you on YouTube. Yeah, I did a video. I did a couple videos. I did one quite a while ago. Me and my buddy Jerry over there in Crab Orchard. I don't get over there. I was going to buy that Crab Orchard permit because I do fish grassy every once in a while. And one of the reasons I don't fish Crab Orchard is because it's kind of a pain in the butt to drive over there to the station and get your little $2 permit and then drive to the lake. It's really a pain if you're going to a little grassy because you're driving from where we live, you're driving past it and then you got to come all the way back to it. Yeah. I've got a couple of those little envelopes. And there's a place over there, Devil's Kitchen, where you can drop those off. But I'm almost out of those envelopes. I'm going to have to make my way to the Refuge Home office there. But yeah, I don't get over there, Crab Orchard, very often at all.
I don't miss crab.
It can be really, really good. It's got some big ones in it.
I like it spring, early summer.
Right.
But that midsummer, man, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
You just can't get shallow enough most of the time.
It was, when I used to fish it a lot, it was probably 15 years ago when it had that, I called it the pencil reed grass that used to come out in the little pencil reeds. Yep. Yeah, it seems to me like it was quite a bit better back then.
The few spots that I do fish, it's still got it.
Yeah. Used to fish that, the Jean LaRue salt crawl was what the old schoolers used to fish. That little bitty crawl on a real lightweight and used to kind of crawl it. And I remember Ron telling me he used to fish over there back in the heydays and a white swim jig was the deal. It's when before people were even throwing a white swim jig. It was like the deal over there.
Yeah. Paulie D said the guys were using live scopes slayed the spotted bass.
Yeah, those spotted bass are kind of like smallmouth a lot of times. They're roaming around. I imagine they were on herring or shad or both. I'm not sure what the forage base is in that lake.
Yeah. But I wish the spotted bass were bigger down at Lake of the Ozarks, but you can get in schools of those things and just wreck them. They're a lot of fun, but they won't do you no good in a tournament.
Joe, I could have used the live scope at Egypt because the fish were schooling and they were moving around, and I know we were around them.
You can't follow them.
You can't follow them when they're down. They're a lot harder. But that live scope would have been the deal, or 360 or something, just so we could cast in front of them.
We ran into the same thing Saturday. Like I said, right off the bat, we were hitting them on the top water, but they bust right here, just maybe one or two of them. And then they'd be gone. And then maybe like 2 or 3 minutes later, you'd see them over here about 30, 40 yards. But it was just out of reach where you couldn't throw to them.
Yeah, and it's each day's a little bit different. Like we had about a 30-minute period where it was funny. We pulled up to the point and there was just a little bit going on here. And then all of a sudden it started getting more frequent. And then there was about a 30-minute period where it was kind of happening. Yeah. And then it kind of just slowly faded away. But I talked to some people that were over there the day before, and Jerry was actually over there a week before, and he said it was like twice that much schooling activity and bigger fish. The fish we were on were a little bit smaller fish. You'd see a decent one come up every once in a while. But, it's crazy how inconsistent that is. And then, you come back to that spot a couple hours later, and they might be doing it again.
Right.
You just got to keep jumping around.
I don't know if Joe was talking to you or me. He said he should have called. He was at Kincaid.
Oh yeah. I should have told you to come on. How was Kincaid, Joe? I saw somebody talking about, I think the scissors, the surgical scissors go into the biohazard.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
They go into that weird red stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
That's the no.
Sean's out.
That's the no box.
The no box. Yeah. Do not touch. Good night, Sean. So.
Tom said the mud bugs and salt crawls. Those were the day.
Yep, that's right. The saw crawls, Gene, there were saw crawls. They had that black one with the white pinchers. Just a little bit. They're kind of like the BB cricket, the Gambler BB cricket. They're kind of like that, but they were flat. Just nothing looking bait. But that was the deal. Throw them on really lightweight and just kind of drag them through there.
David, I'm not even going to comment on that because that opens a whole nother box. We went in that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's, man, I mean, that thing dominated up north in all those smallmouth tournaments. It's just, it's
a matter
changing
of time.
The game.
It's a matter of time. I bet they start limiting some of that stuff.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much money in it for the companies. A lot of those companies sponsor the circuits.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like catch-22. You know, you can't slap the hand that feeds you. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's definitely an advantage to having that stuff. You pretty much gonna have to have that.
Yeah.
I'd say, I don't know what the percentage of pros have that, but I think that's what the electronic companies are going to do.
I would say probably most all of them have it. They just don't show it.
Right. And I'm sure Humminbird is going towards that. And but they've got the 360. But I bet you they're going to be coming out with some forward-looking sonar. And Lowrance is going to have to shape theirs up because it's not that great from what I've seen. So I think that's what everybody's working towards that. David's out. Night, David.
Yep. Steve's out.
Steve's out. Steve, man, take care, buddy. Get some rest.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to jump off here too.
Yeah.
Been on here for a while. Appreciate you guys staying on here and hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed HellaBass. Go check out his stuff. He's got a lot of good content on there. And let's see, Little Grassy was what I'd call dirty tonight compared to, where'd that go? It jumped up there.
All right.
Compared to what you said last week. Huh, that's interesting.
Well, yeah. What happened to
because it was about, I don't know, it was about 4 or 5 foot visibility when I was over there. Maybe I wonder if there was an algae bloom. We got a whole bunch of comments all of a sudden, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, Joe said he was a tournament about 100 boats, only caught 5. Whoa. And missed about 8 on some frog bites too. Frog.
Okay. 100 boat tournament. Jeez. What
tournament
was that? It's a big one. John says, if you really spend your time and learn Devil's Kitchen, you can definitely catch a 7+ pound bass. There's been huge bass caught in Devil's Kitchen, but the lake is so deep there, hard to catch. That's true. There, you know, Devil's Kitchen has been stocked with rainbow trout. So you got that rainbow trout largemouth forage-based connection. And I caught a 710 out of there in a tournament, a club tournament. On 8-pound on a spinning rod on 8-pound test. You'd be proud of me. I caught that on a chompers, man. You remember the little chompers hula grub? Yeah. So a little chompers hula grub. But yeah, there's some big bass in that lake. It's just so clear, and I think they live way out deep. And the only time you can really, well, I'm not going to say the only time, but your best shot at catching those fish is when they move up to spawn, just like any other place. But it's got them.
Yeah. Paul said they just went and hit some big pockets with the wacky rigs and swimming dingers.
Okay. Yeah, that's, you know, if the fish are out there doing that, it's about all you can do is just fish what you know. I think I heard Tom says that he thinks he heard 20 of the top 40 had live scope. Yeah. That was an angler's choice. Wow.
That's a big tournament for Kincaid.
That's huge.
I mean, that filled the whole parking lot up.
Yeah, that lake's too small for that many boats on there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of boats on Egypt, not tournament boats, but there's a lot of boats. As long as it stays in the 80s, man, people are just going to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, guys. Appreciate you coming along. We're going to let you go. And
we will see you next Monday. Hopefully have some good stuff.
Yeah, we're working on that show.
Yep.
Peace.
See ya.